Hi friends, welcome back to the studio. My name is Maya and today we're doing day 3 of the Throwdown challenges. Today we're making birds and let me tell you, where is it? Look at this. I literally made this just like 3 days ago with some scrap clay. I've never made a bird before in my life, but it seems like it's the right time to make some feathered friends. So I'm really excited to have this art in my home. I'm hoping it really turns out good because I have so many blank walls and I have one wall in particular that has been killing me because it's a weird shaped wall. It's right above my fireplace, which makes it kind of like a focal point. If these birds turn out good, they're going up there. This is definitely going to be a challenge. I don't think I've ever actually made ceramics to hang on the wall. Also, a very challenging part about this challenge is that I'm supposed to make them as realistic to the actual birds as possible. If you know my work, I'm not very detail-y in my work. Like the last 2 challenges that I've done have kind of pushed me in that direction, but that's very much outside of my comfort zone. So yeah, let's get into it.
For your main challenge this week, the judges would like you to hand build a trio of flying birds. Now, the birds should be inspired by some place you want to fly away to, but not just yet. At least finish the challenge.
Your birds can be in your own style, keep them realistic and accurate.
Each of your birds needs to be of a different size, so when it comes to judging, they gain perspective.
So like most of these challenges, the judges specify that you're supposed to choose a bird that is meaningful to you in some ways. So I chose a bird that is local to my hometown, which is Wisconsin, and that's a blue jay. They are really beautiful, bright blue birds, and they weren't so common to see, and it was always like a really special experience when you would see one. The trick with this is getting that variation of blue tone. I'm not so good with the underglazes, getting that variety of depth of color. I have done my sketches here, so this is how they're gonna look. And the participants are always able to come in with some material themselves, like the formers and stuff. I didn't prepare the formers, mine are gonna be really simple. But what I did prepare is a basic outline that I'm going to use to get the proportions right. Because I think that's going to be the tricky part. Getting them to look like a blue jay is going to be to do with the color and the proportions. That's what I think. So they tightened up the timeline for this one. So we have 5.5 hours instead of the normal 6 hours. Oh, and in case you haven't seen my previous 2 videos on this, the way I'm getting away with not having a drying room is I'm actually going to split this challenge up into 2 days. So the making part I'm going to do in 2 days instead of just all in one sitting, because I don't have a drying room and I have no way of getting the clay dry enough to leather hard so that I can continue sculpting and carving and stuff. So that's my little fix. Whatever time I have left from this is going to roll over into tomorrow so that I'm still sticking with the timeline. It's just split over 2 days.
Potters, you have 5.5 hours and your time starts now.
It's day 2 and these guys have dried out overnight underneath a layer of cloth just to slow down the drying a little bit. So what I wanted is for them to hold their shape. They're still quite rough. I'm gonna do a lot of shaping first, and then I'll probably let them dry again and then go back in with some carving. That's my plan. So we have basically 1 hour down. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer. And here we go. So what I'm gonna do, I'll remove the formers. So now that I can access it, I'm gonna go ahead and smoothen the back part just to reinforce that bond. The big fear is that, the pieces fall apart. But I'm not gonna spend too much time making the back pretty because it's the back. No one's gonna see it. I also started with the smallest one because I figure if I mess up, it's the smallest one. People are gonna see it less. So I just grabbed a bunch of shaping tools. I don't know what I'm gonna need, but I think first I'm gonna work on the outline, the edges, and it will help to have a picture. I would really like to separate the feathers, but we'll see. We'll see if I can manage that because I'm worried about breakage, of course. Okay, I'm going to need to let these dry for a little while because next I want to do some carving and the clay is just too floppy still to do carving. Little tip for y'all, if you are just getting into pottery, everything's going to be easier and look nicer in the end if you do things at the right level of dryness. I wanted to let the clay be firm enough that I could lift it up and mold it a little bit, but wet enough so that I could still sculpt it and still add pieces to it and not worry about them cracking. Next, I'm just going to be taking pieces away, so carving. And for that, you want it to be a little bit more dry so you can get those crisp lines. I think these steps so far, I was feeling more confident with, and the carving and the painting especially, I'm like very nervous about. So we see how that goes. Probably gonna try and get them carved tonight, but we'll see.
24 hours later.
So I needed to wait until the next day. It was a choice between letting them dry fast enough and finishing them yesterday or letting them dry slower and more secure so that these pieces would not fall apart. And I just decided, let's just do it today, even though I have a million things I need to do today. But let's try and get this carved. We have 3.5 hours left. Let's get carving. I chose the smallest one to start with because I'm nervous. I have an assortment of carving tools. We'll just see. Like, I don't know, can I do this? This is the question. Can I separate the feathers like this? I think I'm just going to separate them at the ends. But first, I'm gonna try to kind of just define the different parts. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Just gonna use a pencil, like a mechanical pencil with the lead, so it's a really thin line. So we're getting to the point in the show that it's going to be harder and harder for me to replicate the challenges that they do. Last week, the week after this one, so I'm in a different timeline than you are right now. But for me, last week was Reiku week. And I don't have a Reiku oven. I don't have any access to a Reiku oven, so I'm not going to be able to do that. So my question for you is, like, should I still make the vase and just fire it in my electrical kiln? Or is it like so important that it's like a Reiku style that I should just like skip that episode. Like I don't think I'm going to do all of them. In fact, I don't think I'm going to be able to do all of them because I'm working with a very small kiln. I can't make something like a toilet if they're going to do that this season, or you know, a sink or whatever, like these larger builds that they do later in the season. The question is, should I keep doing the challenges even if I can't replicate them precisely? Also, like, when are we going to get to the point that they stop using underglazes? I'm like honestly very tired of using underglazes. I don't want to use them anymore. Like, can they not offer them glazes? Even if they were like simple paint on like colored glazes. Also, what I think would be a really cool challenge is to force them, have they done this before? Like to force them to use like one color. For example, everyone needed to use white glaze, because then they're basically forced to like only rely on the form to make it work. I think that would be a cool challenge. I believe one of the people on the show said it's easy to make this start to look like very cartoony, and I couldn't agree more. Wow, guys, that's the best I can do. That's just how it's gonna be. But I mean, he just looks like a general bird right now, so I think it's really gonna be the colors that make it look more like a blue jay. Now we just repeat. Should we go for the big one now? Okay, I'm officially exhausted, but my birds are finished. And what time is it? We have basically 49 minutes left. So I didn't even need the whole time. I'm just going to let them slow dry. I think tonight I'm going to put them underneath a cloth and also plastic. The reason I'm doing that is because there are some parts of the pieces that are drying faster than others, like these really thin parts, especially this tail right here, this wing. The thinner parts are drying a little bit faster, and I just really want to slow down the drying so that we don't get any cracks. I'll see you when these are bisqued, I guess. Okay guys, they survived the fire really well. I don't see any cracks at all. So I'm really happy about that. I'm not positive that they're going to hang. Just like in the show, I'm a little bit worried about that. Some of the hooks are a little bit better than others. This one, the big one, it's a little bit sketchy. What I did was a few days ago is I sanded them really well. All of these little scratches were very bumpy. So I needed to sand them down so they would be nice and smooth. Now they're quite smooth. And I did that in a big bucket of water because otherwise I'd be producing a ton of dust and that's not good for my lungs. So I sanded them in water and then of course I needed to let them dry out. So I've been letting them dry out for a couple of days and now it's time. So today we can underglaze and glaze them. So once again, using my underglazes. You guys are maybe sick of my Amico by now. These are the underglazes that I have. And I'm just going to try and make my blue jays as close to how they look in real life. They're just so pretty. So what I need to focus on is getting some various colors of blue. I think that that's going to be the tricky part. This has always been my downfall with these underglazes is getting some color variation. I don't know, for whatever reason, every single time I use these underglazes, they always end up a little bit flat. So I'm gonna try my best. I think maybe what will help me is actually thinning them out a little bit more and trying not to like layer them as I have. So I'm going to use one color blue in one area and another color in another area. This is my strategy for this one. We'll see how it works. I have two different blues. I'm using the electric blue and the medium blue. I just bought like a set of them, so this is what was all in the set. And then of course I'm going to just add also white and black. And then I also have a brown that I can use to muddy the color a little bit. So the contestants had 3 hours to do the painting and the glazing, so I'm going to do the same for myself. And I was just setting things up here and I am making a last minute change. I am going to use cobalt oxide. I'm doing this because I'm a little worried that the underglazes are not going to add enough dimension that I want to these. And because they are so heavily textured, this is a really great opportunity to put some oxide in those textures and make the whole piece a little bit deeper. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a wash of cobalt oxide first and then apply the underglazes. And if you're curious about cobalt oxide, I'm not gonna explain the whole process here because I literally just explained it in the previous throwdown video. If you want to learn more about applying oxide, I'll link the video up somewhere. So yeah, we're just gonna get into painting.
Their flying birds now face the judgment of Keith and Rich. Potters, your trio of flying birds look fantastic. So let's get started. Derek, would you please bring up your trio of birds?
It's getting there. It's not quite right. I might move them around a little bit. I really want to create like a beautiful vignette here that just like makes sense. Y'all don't care about that. This is about ceramics, and I'm so pleased with how these birds turned out. Okay, there's definitely some things that I would do different. For example, the white, I just was not thinking when I was painting the cobalt over the whole thing. I really should have left cobalt out of the white areas because there's not a ton of contrast. Like there's a lot of mid-tones and dark tones, but there's not really any light tones. Now, I really do love the texture though. I think it's so gorgeous and creates such an interesting dimension. I think finally I do actually like the look of the underglazes. You know I've been struggling with underglazes. If you have seen my other videos on the throwdowns, I've been struggling with underglazes this whole time. Here they are, they're done. I think they're beautiful. I think my favorite is this one because he looks actually like so dynamic. I think it's because the mouth is open. Like the other ones, even though they're in motion, they're definitely a bit more still somehow seeming. But this one, because his mouth is open, he looks so much more engaged. But I really love them all and I love how they look together. I do have a question for you guys though, which is I do need to paint this. I don't like the white. I'm so over white, especially because this wall is textured. It's just looking a bit like rustical, and we've already got the brick. We've already got like so many rustic elements, which I love, but I want to kind of modernize it a little bit just to create a bit more depth and interest. All that to say, what color should I paint this here? It could be just its standalone color over the hearth, or it could be the rest of the room. So let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything I can do to improve this little vignette here. I love my birds, and thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you want to continue this series. This is a really intense series. There's going to be more and more delay behind the episodes as they go on because I can't just do them all at once, and it's going to take several weeks to do them all. I'll let you know I have started the next one already, the planters, so that one's definitely coming, but I don't know how far into the future we're going to be going. Let's see. Let me know. Should I do them all? Bye, friends.